All right, so are you ready to jump into Time Bandits?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. This 1981 film from Terry Gilliam, it's wild.
Absolutely.
And so I think a good way to maybe like frame it for people is if Monty Python and Alice in Wonderland had a baby and it was a little bit on the darker side.
That's a great way to put it.
What do you think?
It's got that whimsy and that sort of
Yeah,
absurdity,
yeah.
but it's also dealing with some pretty, some pretty heavy themes too.
Right, and it's visually incredible. And I think to kind of set us up here, we should talk about the basic plot.
Okay.
So we have Kevin, who's a normal kid,
Regular kid. Yeah.
and he gets swept away on an adventure through time
Yep.
with a band of thieving dwarves.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're not just wandering aimlessly through time. They've got this map
Oh, yeah.
that they've stolen that shows them the way to these time holes, these portals to different historical periods.
Okay.
So you're going to see them bouncing around from Napoleon to Robin Hood to even the Supreme Being.
Yeah, but I think that's what's so fun about this movie is, like you said, they're bouncing through these historical periods.
Right.
But it's not like how you'd read about them in a textbook.
No.
It's very like Gilliam's put his own spin on it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got Napoleon as this whiny kid, and then Robin Hood's kind of this, out of touch, clueless leader.
Yeah. Is that what you expect?
Not at all.
Yeah.
And you can see Gilliam's Monty Python background really coming through in those
Like,
scenes.
totally.
He's not afraid to make fun of history, and it makes you see these figures in a whole new way.
Yeah, and the cast is amazing.
Oh, incredible.
Sean Connery, John Cleese, Shelley Duvall, Ian Holm. I mean, it's like...
Star-studded.
Yeah.
It's a who's who of, like, iconic actors.
But I have to say, even with all these, like, amazing actors,
Yeah.
it's really Kevin that shines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's the heart of the film. He represents that kind of innocence and that curiosity that we all have, I think, especially as kids.
Yeah, he's like the audience surrogate. You're seeing everything through his eyes.
Exactly. And he's also like the moral compass of the film, which is important because he's surrounded by these dwarves, right?
Right.
Who are constantly getting into trouble. They're greedy.
Yeah.
They lie. They're always putting their desires ahead of anyone else. So Kevin's there to remind us that there's this difference between right and wrong, even in the middle of all this craziness.
Okay, so we have this crazy adventure.
Yeah.
Amazing cast, incredible visuals. But what really makes Time Bandits great are the deeper themes.
Right.
Like the clash between childhood dreams and what it's like to actually be an adult, which I think everyone can relate to.
Absolutely. And there's one scene that really highlights that, I think, where Kevin starts to realize that the dwarves aren't the heroes he thought they were.
Right.
They're selfish. They lie. They're really not good guys. And it's kind of a turning point for him in the film.
Yeah, it's like that moment when you realize your parents aren't perfect and the world isn't black and white.
Exactly. And that feeling of realizing that the world is not the fairy tale you thought it was is a huge part of growing up. And, Gilliam doesn't shy away from that.
Right.
From exploring those kind of darker, more complex parts of childhood.
Which I think is interesting because on the surface, Time Bandits seems like it's for kids.
Yeah.
But the themes and even some of the visuals can be intense.
Yeah. I mean, Gilliam has said that he wanted to make a film from a child's point of view, but one that wasn't, sugar-coated or overly sentimental. He wanted to show that mix of wonder and fear, that excitement and danger that comes with being a kid.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really important because kids are experiencing all of that.
Absolutely.
And, we do kind of lose that, I think, as we get older.
Definitely. And I think that's part of what makes this film resonate with people. It speaks to that universal experience of realizing that the world's a lot more complicated than we might have imagined as kids.
Yeah.
It's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Not always.
There's darkness, too.
And that's okay. Right. And, there's this tension in the film, too, I think, between innocence and experience and good and evil.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like Kevin is caught in this battle between the supreme being and the evil genius.
It is a battle, isn't it? And it's interesting how Gilliam portrays those two forces, right?
Right.
The supreme being is kind of this bumbling bureaucratic figure.
Yeah.
While the evil genius is actually quite charismatic.
Yeah.
Almost charming.
Yeah. He's like fun.
Yeah. And it makes you question our ideas of good and evil and how maybe they're not as clear-cut as we think.
Yeah.
Maybe more fluid than that.
Okay, so before we go any further, we have to talk about the ending.
Oh, we have to.
I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say it's one of the most talked about and debated parts of the film.
It is. And for good reason. It's shocking.
Yeah.
It's ambiguous. It leaves you with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfect example of Gilliam subverting expectations
Right.
and challenging the audience. He doesn't give you any easy answers or neat resolutions.
Yeah.
He just throws everything you thought you knew into question,
Hmm.
and you're left to confront the unknown.
It definitely made me think about how time keeps moving forward, even when things feel chaotic and uncertain.
Right.
Like there's still that possibility for something new to come about.
I like that interpretation.
Yeah.
Like Gilliam is saying life is messy.
Yes.
It's unpredictable. Sometimes things just don't make sense, but that's okay. You don't always need all the answers. Sometimes the journey is more important than the destination.
Absolutely. And that's what makes Time Bandits so thought-provoking. It doesn't tell you what to think. It just shows you this wild world and lets you figure it out for yourself.
It really does. And speaking of wild, we have to mention Gilliam's visual style. The sets, the costumes, the
Yeah.
special effects.
Oh my God.
It's so distinct and memorable.
It's like you're stepping into a dream. Or maybe a nightmare, depending on the scene.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You really never know what to expect next.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see his animation background in his work, right? Like he started with Monty Python doing those surreal animations and cutout animation style.
Yeah.
And you see that in Time Bandits. The way he mixes live action with stop motion and creates these incredible larger-than-life environments.
Yeah, and the costumes are just as over the top as the sets. Like, think about the evil genius.
Oh, yeah.
He's got like wires and gears and lights flashing everywhere. It's like a visual representation of how unpredictable he is.
Totally. And don't forget the dwarves' costumes.
Oh, yeah.
Each one is unique.
Yeah.
It reflects their personality. Like, Gilliam really put as much thought into those costumes as he did the characters themselves.
Yeah, remember that scene where they're trying to steal the safe from the Titanic? Like,
Yeah.
they're bumbling around, causing chaos, but you're kind of rooting for them, even though they're making terrible decisions.
It's classic slapstick comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also this element of danger and suspense.
Right.
And that's another thing Gilliam does so well. He blends humor with these darker, more serious elements.
Yeah, it's like he's playing with your expectations, keeping you on the edge of your seat, but also making you laugh.
Exactly. And that's what makes Time Bandits so unique and so enduring. It's this roller coaster ride of emotions and ideas wrapped up in this visually stunning package.
It's a film that celebrates the people who don't quite fit in, the dreamers, the ones who challenge the status quo.
Absolutely.
And it reminds us that even when things feel chaotic and unpredictable,
Yeah.
there's always room for wonder and adventure.
And that's a beautiful message, I think.
Yeah.
It encourages us to embrace the unknown, to question everything, to never lose that childlike sense of curiosity and awe,
Yeah.
that sense of wonder.
Yeah,
And I think that's something we could all use a little bit more of.
definitely. So what do you think? If you could jump into a time hole, where would you go? What would you want to see?
Oh, that's a great question.
It's hard.
It is. It is. I'd have to think about that one for a minute. What about you?
That is a tough one. I think I'd have to go with ancient Greece. Yeah, I mean, just to see the Parthenon being built
Yeah.
and the philosophers in action, it would be incredible.
That would be amazing. I've always been fascinated by ancient Egypt myself.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'd want to go back and see the pyramids being constructed.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, just to witness that level of engineering and artistry firsthand.
Yeah,
It would be mind-blowing.
yeah.
But, that's the beauty of Time Bandits. It doesn't just tell a story. It sparks your imagination.
Right.
It makes you an active participant in this journey through time.
And it reminds us that history isn't just about dates and names in a textbook.
Right.
It's about real people and real events.
Yeah.
And Gilliam brings those moments to life in such an entertaining and thought-provoking way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just dry facts and figures.
Yeah.
It's about the human experience throughout history.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Gilliam actually originally imagined Time Bandits as the first part of a trilogy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brazil, which he made a few years later, was meant to represent adulthood. And there was supposed to be a third film about old age, but it was never made.
That's fascinating. I wonder what that third film would have been like.
I know, me too. But even on its own, Time Bandits is so rich and complex. There's so much to unpack.
There really is.
And I think one thing that's really remarkable is how relevant the film still feels today.
Oh, absolutely.
The themes of escapism, searching for meaning, that clash between innocence and experience.
It's all timeless stuff.
Yeah, it's timeless. No matter what generation you belong to, you can connect with Kevin's journey and the challenges he faces. And Gilliam's blend of humor and darkness makes it both entertaining and thought-provoking.
It's a winning combination for sure.
So if anyone out there is looking to dive deeper into Gilliam's work, Brazil is definitely worth checking out.
It is. It's often seen as a kind of spiritual successor to Time Bandits,
Yeah.
exploring similar themes but in a very different setting. And there are also tons of articles and essays out there
Oh, yeah.
analyzing the film's symbolism, its themes, its cultural impact. Time Bandits has definitely left its mark on pop culture.
Yeah, it's a film that people are still talking about and debating today.
Absolutely. And I think that speaks to its power.
Yeah, for sure. Before we wrap up, though, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
What is the true value of adventure?
Ooh,
Is it about the destination, the treasures we collect along the way? Or is it something more intangible, something that changes who we are?
that's a great question. And I think Time Bandits suggests that the real treasure is the journey itself,
Right.
the experiences we have, the people we meet, the lessons we learn along the way. Those are the things that truly matter.
It's a reminder that life is full of surprises, and sometimes the most unexpected detours can lead to the most incredible discoveries.
Absolutely. And that's a good note to end on, I think.
Yeah, well, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the plot, the characters, the themes, the legacy of Time Bandits.
We have, but there's still so much more to discover.
There is.
This deep dive was just a taste of what this film has to offer.
Mm.
Now it's up to you to watch it, experience it, and draw your own conclusions.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe it will inspire you to embark on your own adventure,
I hope so.
even if it's just a journey through your imagination.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Time Bandits.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. It really does make you think, doesn't it,
Oh, yeah.
about how complicated the world can be.
Yeah, and how it's not always what we expect as kids.
Definitely. And that's one of the things I love about this film. It reminds us that it's okay to question things,
Yeah,
to not have all the answers.
absolutely. And to embrace that sense of wonder and curiosity even as we get older.
Exactly. Because that's what keeps us learning and growing.
So speaking of embracing the unknown, we have to talk about that ending.
Oh, yes. The ending. It's a doozy.
It is. It's one of those endings that stays with you long after the credits roll.
It really does. And it
Oopsie.
sparked so much discussion and debate over the years.
For those who haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say it's shockingly ambiguous and leaves you with a lot of questions.
It's a classic Gilliam move. He loves to subvert expectations.
Oh, totally. He doesn't give you any easy answers.
Nope. You're left to ponder the meaning and come to your own conclusions.
Which I think is brilliant. It makes the film so much more thought-provoking.
It does. It forces you to engage with the material on a deeper level.
It definitely made me think about the nature of time and the inevitability of both creation and destruction.
That's a really interesting take. I like that.
And how even in the face of chaos and uncertainty, there's still this glimmer of hope, this possibility for something new to emerge.
It's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes Time Bandits so powerful. It doesn't shy away from the darkness,
Right.
but it also offers this sense of hope, this belief that even when things fall apart, something new can always be created.
Exactly. And that's a message that resonates with me deeply.
Me too. And speaking of things that resonate deeply, we can't talk about Time Bandits without mentioning Gilliam's incredible visual style.
Oh my God. The visuals in this film are mind-blowing.
They really are. The sets, the costumes, the special effects, it's all so distinctive and memorable.
It's like stepping into another world.
It is.
Mm.
And you can see Gilliam's background in animation influencing everything.
Oh, absolutely. From the surreal imagery to the way he blends live action with stop-motion animation, it's also creative and imaginative.
And let's not forget those costumes.
Oh, the costumes are iconic.
They are, especially the evil genius's outfit.
Oh, yeah. It's like a chaotic mess of wires and gears and flashing lights.
The perfect visual representation of his unstable and unpredictable nature.
Exactly. And then you have the dwarves' costumes, each one so unique and reflective of their personality.
It's clear that Gilliam put a lot of thought into every detail.
Remember that scene where they're trying to steal the safe from the Titanic?
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
They're just bumbling around causing mayhem, but you can't help but laugh along with them.
It's pure slapstick comedy.
But there's also this underlying tension, this sense of danger.
Right, because even though it's funny, the stakes are still high.
Exactly. And that's another thing Gilliam does so well. He balances humor with darkness.
He keeps you guessing. He keeps you on the edge of your seat.
So it's not just mindless entertainment.
No, it's thought-provoking. It's challenging. It's a film that stays with you.
Absolutely. And I think that's why Time Bandits has endured for so long. It's a film that speaks to something deep within us.
It does. It speaks to our desire for adventure, our fascination with history, and our need to make sense of the world around us.
And it reminds us that even in the face of absurdity and chaos, there's still beauty to be found.
And joy and wonder,
Yeah.
and most importantly, a sense of humor.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It really makes you think about Like if you found a time hole yourself,
Oh, yeah.
where would you go?
Yeah.
What would you want to see?
That's a great question.
It's tough.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
There's so many possibilities.
Yes. I think for me, I'd have to go with ancient Greece.
Oh, wow. What?
Yeah, just to see like the Parthenon being built and to witness the philosophers like Socrates and Plato in action. That would be incredible. Just to be a fly on the wall during those conversations.
Yeah, it would be amazing to experience that firsthand.
You know, I've always been fascinated by ancient Egypt.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'd want to travel back and see the pyramids being constructed.
Oh, my gosh.
Just to witness that level of engineering and artistry firsthand. It would be mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really would.
But, you know, that's what I love about Time Bandits.
Right.
It doesn't just tell a story. It sparks your imagination.
Right.
It makes you an active participant in this journey through time.
And it reminds us that history isn't just like dates and names in a textbook.
Right.
It's about real people and real events. And Gilliam brings those moments to life in such a entertaining and thought-provoking way.
He really does. It's not just dry facts and figures. It's about the human experience throughout history.
Yeah, and it's funny, and Gilliam actually originally envisioned Time Bandits as the first part of a trilogy.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Brazil, which she made a few years later, was meant to represent adulthood. And then there's supposed to be a third film that focused on old age.
Wow.
But it was never made.
It's too bad. I wonder what that would have looked like.
Why, no, me too. But even on its own, Time Bandits is so rich and complex.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's really remarkable is how relevant the film still feels today.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, the themes of escapism, searching for meaning, that clash between innocence and experience.
It's timeless.
It's timeless. No matter what generation you belong to, you can connect with Kevin's journey and the challenges he faces.
Yeah.
And Gilliam's blend of humor and darkness just makes it so entertaining and thought-provoking.
It's a winning combination.
So for anyone out there who wants to delve deeper into Gilliam's work, I think Brazil is definitely worth checking out.
Absolutely.
It's often seen as a spiritual successor to Time Bandits, exploring similar themes but in a totally different setting.
Right.
And I mean, there are also tons of articles and essays out there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Analyzing the film's symbolism themes, its cultural impact.
Time Bandits has really left its mark on pop culture.
Yeah, it's a film that people are still talking about and debating today.
For good reason.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, though, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
What is the true value of adventure? Is it about the destination, the treasures we collect along the way, or is it something more intangible, something that changes who we are?
That's a great question to ponder.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Time Bandits suggests that the real treasure is the journey itself.
Yeah.
The experiences we have, the people we meet, the lessons we learn along the way, those are the things that truly matter.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that life is full of surprises, and sometimes the most unexpected detours can lead to the most incredible discoveries.
So true.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the plot, the characters, the themes, the legacy of Time Bandits.
We did. It's been a great discussion.
Yeah, but I think there's still so much more to discover.
There is.
So this deep dive was just a taste of what this film has to offer. Now it's up to you to go watch it, experience it, draw your own conclusions.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe it'll inspire you to embark on your own adventure.
That's the hope.
Even if it's just a journey through your imagination.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Time Bandits.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See ya.